Hello and welcome to another week of Weekly Parcel arranging. This week we couldn't film at the shop, but that's okay because floral arranging can happen anywhere, and we're coming at you from our home. I'm going to be working in this footed vase with a pin cushion or a flower frog, some putty, which we're going to use to attach the flower frog to the vase, some tape because I'm still going to do a tape grid, and of course my standard Weekly Parcel bouquet. So a pincushion frog or a flower frog, it allows you to have a really specific gestural moment. It's what designers would use before flower foam was a thing. It's a very old school method of designing. So I'm going to attach it to the base of my vase, but I'm still going to do a tape grid because not every stem is going to be able to go into this pincushion. So I still need a grid to hold the other elements in place that I'm not going to specifically put into the pins. They're very heavy, so you technically don't really need putty, but if you're going to put a lot of stems in here, it's possible that it could topple over. So I always use putty, and this is something that we have at the store. If you wanted to come pick some up, it's a really easy way to affix your frogs to the bottom of your vase. So I'm going to line the edge of the frog with my putty. So I've got a pretty good cushion of putty there. I'm going to take the putty lined frog and I'm going to press down into the center of my vase. And I'm going to hold it there for a few seconds just to make sure it's got a good lock. You'll know you have a good lock if you can lift the vase just from the frog. So that's a pretty good lock. So I've got my pin cushion in there, and now I'm going to do my tape grid. And I'm going to work closer to the edges with my tape grid because that's where the elements that I might not make it into the frog with will go. Still going to put one across the middle though. Now I'm going to go across the edge again just to make sure all my little ends are in place. Now I have my water level filled pretty high, but not all the way to the brim because as you add flowers, the water level will rise. This is viburnum. It's a bush, but that means we've got lots of different tendrils to work with. We can really divide this up, especially working in a low container like this. We're going to start by filling in the base with some of our viburnum to create the forest floor of our arrangement. When I'm working in a frog, I like to use my initial elements to start creating my structure, keeping in mind that some of my wispier elements might come higher than anything that I'm initially putting in here, but creating an initial shape for myself. Moving on to my second stem of viburnum. You can see here, like, this will be a piece. I can even divide the stem here and use these elements here as a piece, and then be able to use this whole other stem too. When you're working with an arrangement that you can have really short stems, you can use so much more of the stem than in just a taller arrangement. All right, I'm just going to do one more to make sure I have a nice even start. So I think I'm going to come in, I'm going to come in with my clematis now. This can also be divided into multiple pieces. You see how there's this beautiful bloom right here and right here. And now I can divide that into two beautiful blooms like that. See, having that frog really allows me to put it somewhere and it just stays put. So I've got my clematis in. I still have another stem available, but I'm going to hold off on that for now and start working in my focal flowers. These are anemones grown in Rhinebeck, New York, so a Hudson Valley grown anemone in February. It's pretty impressive. Anemones open and close with the temperature of the room, so some people think that when they see an anemone fully open that it's done, that it's no longer a beautiful flower, but most of the time it's just that the room is too warm. So they're really beautiful because you can see them open and close throughout the day with the temperature. I chose to make this one kind of coming at you, so when it opens you can really see the eye of the anemone. fluffy ranunculus. Put that one there to start filling in some of my holes and ground the arrangement. Ooh, I've got a bud. It's pretty. I'm going to save that for somewhere else. So I've got my ranunculus in place, starting to balance out the anemones on this cluster with some ranunculus in this cluster and then clematis throughout. Sometimes if your stem isn't easily going into the frog, just give it a fresh cut. You can cut it at a sharp angle, and then that way it makes it more of like a pointed tip to go into the frog. I've got my acacia, and I also have some viburnum left to fill in any holes that I want to fill in. I think I want some more spillage over the edge here, and I want maybe a piece of this acacia to like really come off the top, continue the base of my arrangement. Alright, so you can see how I added this acacia, which gave it a little bit more of that sharper movement in that direction, and then I started to use my last bit of viburnum to fill in the gaps that I was having around my focal flowers. And I have another taller piece here, so I might follow that same movement. You can see how it's taller on this side and then it comes out on this side with very similar, so I'm going to use this last piece to continue that line so it's like a beautiful wave. Alright, I think that looks pretty great. Very happy with it. We've got our shape in place. We have our rule of threes of having focal flowers kind of creating a triangle shape, and all of our filler elements covering our mechanics and giving a background to our focal flowers to really stand out. Next week is Valentine's Day, so make sure you pre-order so that we can guarantee that you'll get the flowers you'd like, but also feel free to stop in and pick up any last minute gifts. See you then!